Let's take a look at how we create points from our model. So here we have created a job and we have imported a CAD file to create points in our model here. Um, so to create points, we're going to go ahead and go into the create mode. So the create mode is the pencil mark here, the second point on the left. And we're going to use the from model option for this exercise. When we click on the from model option, we see that on the left-hand side, we have different options to choose from. So we have the ability to select endpoints, midpoints, intersections, and circles, arc, centers. So we're going to start with endpoints, and you'll see some of this information also carry over. So I'll use endpoints for this exercise, but you can go ahead and use the other options. Now, before we create points, we will need to make sure that we assign points correctly. In order to do that, we want to go into edit mode here, right, and simply give the point a name. So for instance, if I want to do some wall points, I might want to do start with W for wall points, and I'll say W1, and then increment as I go forward. You can go ahead and give it a description. So I'm gonna go ahead and here put wall points, and then maybe you want to go ahead and specify a layer. It's good practice to actually assign the points to their own layers, so it's very easy to turn them off and on when you're not laying them out and so forth, or when you don't need to have them in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. If you have a layer already created from the CAD file that you want to use, you can. If you don't have one in there, just simply go ahead and type one in. So I will go ahead and put on here just wall points. I'll abbreviate it there. Once all said and done, we want to make sure again the name is the first point that you're going to create. I'm going to go ahead and get out of edit mode by selecting the edit mode function down below. And now I'm ready to pick my points. So I'm going to zoom in here to the corner here and click. That will create my first point on here. Then if I zoom out, or if I want to go ahead and create another point, I want to go ahead and click on another location here. And you want to be very careful if you have a three-dimensional drawing. Down below here where it says create, you will see that there are 2 points created. If you click on a point and you see that it went ahead and created multiple points, that means that it did find a three-dimensional object and there's two endpoints sitting on top of each other. So you want to be very careful with that. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a couple more points in here. I'll do one here in the end. And you see there that I went ahead and did 2 points on there by mistake because I didn't zoom in close enough. And I'll show you how to delete that using the point feature in the create mode. So I'm gonna go back in here and just finish off by doing 2 more points in here. And once I'm done and I notice that I want to select the points, I'm going to go ahead and hit create. Okay. Now I want to hit create. You notice that it went ahead and added the point names in there along with the points. And again, this is controlled by the visibility settings over in your map options towards the right hand side. All right, so let's talk for a minute. Now, the other thing is if I made a mistake and I just want to undo everything, I do have the undo option over here on the work plane, on the work set area down below. But if I'm only going to, if I do that, it's going to undo every single point that I did. If I want to eliminate only 1 point, then I want to go ahead and use under the create mode, I'm going to go ahead now and click on the ellipse over here. And I'm going to go ahead and select points. And now under points, I can go ahead and select the point that I want to edit. And then once I select the point, then I do have the delete option here. That would allow me to delete the points and so forth. So now it allows me to go back to the create mode and select from model again. And now I get to zoom and create additional points. Over on the left-hand side, we got a couple of options over here that we want to look at. So we have a couple different ones. If I want to select points, you have the option to select an area for the point. So for instance, I'm going to zoom in here for a minute, and I want to maybe go ahead and select these 2 points together. I can go ahead and do a window selection, which is the first option in here. And this would allow me to select an area, and depending on which object snaps I have selected, it'll go ahead and define and find those points. This is a faster way than actually selecting individual points that way. And I'll do the same thing. Again, after every window, you have to select it again. So once you do a window, you have to go back and select the option again. Once you define the points, you hit create again. And again, it'll increment accordingly. And it'll take the first one will take the name of the point that I deleted, and then the others will be increment accordingly. So on the next step here, I'm going to zoom in here, see if I can get a good view here. I'm going to remove endpoints, and I'm going to use circle, arcs, and centers. I want to get the center of my bolts here to do that. So these are not walls, so I need to go ahead and make a change to my wall points here. So instead of W, I'm going to just say these are anchor bolts. Anchor points. And I'm going to go ahead, deselect. And in this case here, I'm not going to use the option to do a window. I'm going to do the other option here, which is actually say, go ahead and select every circle and arc in the view. So you want to make sure that you are in an area that you want to show. If you select this option with endpoints, it will select every endpoint in the view. So sometimes it selects more than what you need. So I'm going to go ahead and use this option to select my 4 anchor bolts right away, and then you can go ahead and hit create. If it made a mistake and you want to clear the points that it was created, you can go ahead and select the option here for no points, and therefore you see it clears your settings. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again with the select on the view, and it selects all those 4 points, and I'm going to go ahead and hit create. If you obviously if it is very, very important to define which point is assigned number 1, number 2, and so forth, then you want to go ahead and select those individually so they get correctly assigned. So this just kind of covers just the basics of creating points using from model option.